Hi, Thomas here with another episode with tone tips for the Kemper Profiler. In this video, I'd like to show you how to tweak some parameters in the amp menu and how I work with those parameters to adjust the sound to get the best guitar tone for recording. First of all, I always tweak. I never use the profiles as they were made. Why? Because I use different guitars and I play different stuff. But the main reason for tweaking is the type of arrangement of the song I'm recording. You often have big arrangements with a lot of instruments or many guitar tracks. So you need to find the perfect space where the recorded guitar cuts through and fits in the mix. And this requires some tweaking before recording. To fix it in the mix is not the best choice. The first parameter to look at is definition. You find it in the amp menu on page 1. Press the amplifier button and navigate with the page buttons to page 1. If you choose a high value, you get a modern sound with tight low end and a sharp high end. Lower values give you a more warm and vintage style sound. Here's a selection of different settings. In recording situations, I work with the definition parameter to adjust the sound for the guitar and to the musical material I'm playing. After setting the gain, this is my first go-to parameter. In the next example, I'm playing a single note riff on the lower strings and the guitar is in drop tuning, tuned down 1/2 step so we have C sharp on the low E string. I select the neck pickup because I like the warm tone of this pickup better for this riff than the bridge pickup. But to cut through the mix, especially in this case with a few additional guitar tracks to compete with, it's better to go for a higher value of definition. With a lower value, I get a more vintage fuzzy tone, which also sounds good but has less definition and will struggle to cut through. Here are the two examples. First with a lower value, then with a higher value of definition. All the other settings are the same. In the next example, I'm playing single note lead lines on higher strings with an almost clean sound. I'm playing with a pick, and for this particular sound I often choose a lower value of definition to get a warmer tone. Here are also two examples. First with a higher value of definition and then with a lower value. To adjust the definition parameter, it's useful to listen to your guitar sound while you're playing with a backing track. The guitar's volume level should be like in the final mix. Then you can judge whether the guitar should sound a little more defined or not. On page 1 of the amplifier menu, we also find the parameter compressor. This sounds and feels different to the normal compressor effect that you can choose for an effect module in the stomp or effect section. I use the amp compressor when I'm using profiles with mid-gain and want to control the amount of overdrive with the volume knob on the guitar. This gives me a distorted sound at full volume, and it cleans up when I take it back to 6. This profile reacts very sensibly to the picking dynamics, and when I roll off the volume on the guitar and play with the fingers, the sound becomes a bit too low in volume and needs to be pushed a bit. That's the point when I start using the amp compression parameter. When I turn it up, the lower volume notes get a little bit more volume and the playing feel of this sound is far better. And also, the level between the mid-gain sound at maximum guitar volume and the cleaner one with guitar volume on 6 is more balanced. The next secret weapon is positioning of the amp EQ. You can set it either pre or post of the gain stack, and this has a huge impact to the sound and gain structure when you work with the EQ. You find the EQ menu on the Profiler head and rack version when you press the EQ button. When you're using a Profiler stage, you find the EQ in the amp menu on page 4. Press Edit, then Amplifier, and navigate to page 4. For example, when I'm searching for a crisp Vox-style crunch sound with a smooth overdrive in the higher frequencies, then I use the EQ in front of the gain stack, setting EQ pre. In this position, the EQ impacts which frequency range of the sound will be overdriven. You get the sparkling break-up overdrive when you take higher values on treble and presence. In this case, I always take a lower value on definition. If you use this setting with EQ post, it will sound totally different. Here are 2 examples. First EQ pre, then EQ post. If you need more mids in the overdrive sound, then take EQ pre and of course turn the mids up. If you like a more clean tone in this frequency range, then try a lower value of the mids. When I need to shape the frequency range of a profile without taking influence to the gain structure, I use the setting EQ post. I use this when I work with high gain sounds to give them a bit of fine-tuning. The next example is a profile of an Engel amp from the Profiler's factory content, and this is how it sounds like. Sounds good, but in my opinion the profile needs some tweaking to fit better into the mix. First of all, I take the gain back. The distortion sound is a little bit too muddy. Then I roll off the bass and the mids and boost the treble and presence just a tiny bit. When the EQ is set to post, you don't need to take high values when you want to boost the frequency band because the EQ has a very high efficiency when it's placed behind the gain stack. So this is how it sounds after those little tweaks. That's all for now about sound adjustment by tweaking some parameters in the amp menu. I hope I could give you some good advice for a better guitar sound. Thanks for watching.